I call the member for Summerhill.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. For many Sydney-siders, Haberfield is just another suburb that you drive past. A name on a map, a sign off Parramatta Road, maybe a place your grandma took you to buy you cannoli, really good cannoli. Obviously, for the people who live there, though, it is much more. And today I want to take this opportunity to speak about Haberfield and the importance of the community. Haberfield holds a unique place in the development of the Australian dream. It was, and always will be, owned by the Gadigal and Wangal people of the Eora Nation. Over time, it was held by the Ramsay family until the late 19th century, when it was subdivided and crafted into one of the world's first garden suburbs. The developers of the day described it as a slumless, laneless and publess, which these days might be a turn-off for young buyers house hunting in the inner west. Back then, Haberfield represented something new and exciting. Streets were laid out, named after the fathers of the Federation, including Barton, Deakin, Kingston and Forrest, a sign of the optimism for the future of our brave new continent country. No two houses were built the same, each a similar size, following a distinctly Australian ideal that this was to be a classless suburb, without mansions and without slums. This new suburb represented equality and our hopes for the Australian way of life. Haberfield's design grew from the City Beautiful movement, a school of architecture and planning that believed harmonious surrounds led to harmonious communities. The proof has been in the pudding, or the cannoli. A century later, Haberfield remains a special and harmonious place. It was designated one of the state's first ever conservation areas in 1985. 6 years later, in 1991, all of Haberfield, the entire 2046 postcode, was added to the register of the National Estate. Over 85% of the conservation area remains largely intact, with strict regulations and controls placed on homeowners looking to renovate. Owners can't add a second storey, fences must remain low to allow neighbours to see each other and talk, lots are required to have 50% soft landscaping, even paint colours are regulated to protect the architectural value of the suburb. These strict rules come with frustrations for homeowners, but also cultivate a keenly felt civic pride in Haberfield's garden suburb reputation. Haberfield residents understand that personal sacrifices amount to a collective value, the preservation of an important movement in Sydney's history. A moment when we realise that we could live beside one another without the divisions of the past and all own a piece of the Australian dream. The noble notion of equal and harmonious society is still in full effect in Haberfield. I think of the hard-working people at the Haberfield and Dobroyd Point PNCs who volunteer and work hard to raise money for their kids' schools. I think of the St David's Uniting Church community who hung banners in support of asylum seekers. I think of the hard-working staff at the Ella Centre who provide support and friendship to people with disabilities and the elderly. I think of the neighbourly, compassionate people who look out for one another and want to protect the things that make their suburb a one-of-a-kind. This community, though, is facing difficult times. The Baird government, despite strong objections of the locals, pushes ahead with plans to build Westconnex. The project's environmental impact statement is damning of its impact on Haberfield's unique heritage. The EIS notes that 53 properties within the Haberfield conservation area will be demolished. A further 11 heritage items and 29 contributory items will be lost forever. Robert Stanton's design will be forever fractured and destroyed, a devastating loss to the state's heritage. Ugly ventilation stacks, noise abatement walls and tunnel portals will replace beautiful homes and tree-lined streets. These are the findings from the government's own heritage experts. This week I will hand 450 postcards to the Premier signed by concerned residents from across the state. These postcards express disgust at the government's attempt to ram through the Westconnex project in the face of community opposition. I will be hosting a Westconnex EIS Community Action Day this Saturday at St David's Hall in Dalhousie Street to help residents work their way through the thousands of pages and volumes of the EIS and make submissions. I will also be moving a motion in this place to immediately stop plans to destroy Haberfield and to recognise its national significance by adding it to the State Heritage Register. During this difficult time, I call on the people of Haberfield to remember the idea your suburb was founded on, to stand together and remember what makes you strong and special, that you are more than just a street sign or a suburb or an off-ramp to a freeway. You are a strong community of proud, civic-minded residents who value your history, your heritage and one another, and I stand with you.
We're considering private member statements. I call the member for Miranda.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge the success